ever since this happened,
I'm really not quite certain how you don't feel that coming. I mean, it's right.
the Carolina Panthers have been a franchise without a quarterback. They've been through Cam Newton, Taylor Heineke, Kyle Allen, Will Greer, Teddy Bridgewater, and the latest disaster, Sam Darnold. But this past draft, they've gotten somebody that's gotten the Carolina Panthers fans, yours truly, a little excited, and Matt Corral out of Ole Miss. And in this video, we are going to see if Matt Corral is finally the answer for the Carolina Panthers. This is a modded rebuild, and it's meant to be as realistic as it possibly can be. AI logic is better, trades are better, the draft is better, player contracts and salaries are more accurate, all of the offseason moves are accurate. So we are going to start this season exactly where the NFL season is right now, and that would technically be, I guess, in the preseason. But you can see the Raiders here are all added, and the Carolina Panthers, their third best player is Johnny Hecker. And they suck. So we need to get to know the Carolina Panthers first, and it's all led by Sam Darnold, unfortunately, with PJ Walker and then Matt Corral. Matt Corral is going to be our starting quarterback right out the gate. No more of the Sam Darnold show here. Of course, this offense is led by Christian McCaffrey, one of the best, most all-around talented running backs in the NFL, but the problem is he can't stay healthy. Now, DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are on the outside, along with Terrence Marshall Jr., who I think has the potential to be a great wide receiver, a wide receiver too in the league. We've got Tommy Tremble holding down the tight end spot, and a reworked offensive line for the Carolina Panthers, which is really going to be the anchor of this offense for this rebuild. Of course, we've got Iquanu from NC State at a 72 overall on the left-hand side of this line. Tyler Moton with probably one of the most underrated tackles in the NFL. And then the Panthers went out and got Bradley Bozeman and Austin Corbett to help solidify the inside of that offensive line. On defense, this team is actually really, really talented all throughout. On the defensive line, we've got Brian Burns along with Matt Ioannidis from the Washington Commanders. Yatir Gross-Matos is going to try to fill that void left by Hassan Reddick. Now, there are some guys out in free agency that we might look at trying to get. Now, Dante Jackson, JC Horn, and CJ Henderson holding down the cornerback spot. Very young and talented cornerbacks. DJ Jackson or Dante Jackson coming back from last year. They went and got a Cowboy, Xavier Woods, to play safety alongside, I think, again, one of the most underrated safeties in the NFL with Jeremy Chin. And then we come to, I think, the second weakest spot on the Carolina Panthers roster outside of quarterback. It's that linebacker group. Now, Shaq Thompson is a stud. He's good. There's not a lot of depth here. We've got Wilson and Corey Littleton, but it's just nothing to sneeze at. So we're going to look and try to upgrade them, maybe upgrading this defensive line a little bit, help out Derek Brown, Matt Ioannidis, and Brian Burns. I think Yatir Gross-Matos can grow into a role-playing edge rusher, but we'll just have to see. So one of the good things about actually using the Panthers in this rebuild is they got a lot of cap space. And because we got this mod in place, look, Akeem Hicks, Odell Beckham, we've got Melvin Ingram, also Julio Jones there, Jadeveon Clowney. So there are some guys here that we can look to fill. And I think this second running in free agency is always very exciting in the NFL. So we're going to go through here and see if there's some players that we could potentially get to add to this roster, help Matt Corral out, and maybe get into the playoffs. So I think Jadeveon Clowney's free agency market's going to get heat up here really, really soon, but I think he can fit the Carolina Panthers very, very well. I think he's somebody that we need to sign. So we're going to go again. We've got $26 million in cap space here. We've got room to sign him. I think we signed Jadeveon Clowney to help out with Brian Burns, give him somebody that's going to take off the pressure of the double teams that he's going to receive. And then we can let Yatir Gross-Matos be that role player that we think that he can be for this team. So I don't really see us taking anyone else. I think Jadeveon Clowney is something that really would happen for the Panthers. I don't see them going out and getting anybody else. Would it be nice to have Akeem Hicks? Yes, but they're going to roll with Derek Brown. They're going to roll with Matt Ioannidis. Could we go out and get linebacker help? Yeah, but they drafted some linebackers as well. Re-signed Frankie Louvu. Still got Shaq Thompson. So I think we just stay put. So I think we just roll with that. I think adding Jadeveon Clowney can help out the defense. But I think this is probably going to take a few years for us to actually grow and dominate the NFC. This is going to be our starting day lineup. The only really things that we changed, we put Brady Christensen there. We do have Rashad Higgins here, but I think we're going to put Terrence Marshall in the slot to see if he grows. Of course, Matt Corral is going to start quarterback day one. And I think the only other thing we did, of course, was add Jadeveon Clowney And instead of CJ Henderson starting opposite of Dante Jackson, JC Horn is going to start. They drafted him in the first round. He's a 74 overall. Yes, I know CJ Henderson's a 76, but they are going to stick with him playing outside, if not moving Dante Jackson, maybe playing corner or slot corner as well. I'm not really sure how that's going to work out exactly yet. All right, so we're opening up our first game against the Seahawks. That should be an easy win, maybe. I really don't know, but we are opening up without Christian McCaffrey. He got hurt. He had a hamstring tear. He's out for like another 4 weeks. So we have to go out and get a running back in free agency. Now, of course, I can't believe Odell Beckham is still here. Even in Madden, that's usually a gone. We need someone who can like kind of cover what he does. I can't believe they got Mike Davis as an elusive back. And I think Tariq Cohen fits that bill. So we're going to sign Tariq Cohen to help us out since Christian McCaffrey is hurt, and it will be the Chuba Hubbard show for at least the first quarter of the NFL season. All right, so we finished 7-10, which in my opinion is actually really good. I think I got the Panthers winning like 5 or 6 games max this upcoming year. So let's look at these stats and see who our MVPs of the offense and defense was. So Matt Corral had kind of a pedestrian start, 18 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, only 3,200 yards passing. It's really not all that great. Christian McCaffrey did have 1,000 yards rushing, so he did turn it around. After being hurt half the season, he had 9 touchdowns there. Receiving, though, there was nothing really. DJ Moore, this would have been his first season in the last 3, not reaching 1,000 yards. He did have a few touchdowns there, though, as well. Shaq Thompson led it in tackles. No surprise there. Sacks. Brian Burns with 13. Matthew Ioannidis surprised from the defensive tackle spot with 10.5 sacks. And then Jadeveon Clowney with 9.5. So that was a good signing. 1-year signing. He comes up with almost 10. Yatir Gross-Matos had 5.5. So that was good. He played that role that we wanted to. Interceptions. Dante Jackson, 4. JC Horn with 4. Jeremy Chin with 2. That's actually pretty daggone good. The Panthers were okay. I think 7-10 is a good start considering they're 5-11. They started a rookie quarterback. The offensive line still trying to rebuild, and we've got to go out and re-sign all of these players. Our cap is not looking too good. Let's see who wins the Super Bowl. All right, so we did have a Kansas City Chief and Green Bay Packers Super Bowl. Surprise, surprise. And Kansas City wins 34-10. Holy crap. Now, I got a little notification that we won Rookie of the Year. So I'm thinking that Matt Corral wins Offensive Rookie of the Year in the NFC. Must have been a slow year. And yeah, he does. He beats out Rachaad White. So now we're in the re-signing period. The way this mod works is you only get 1 chance at the end of the year to re-sign your players. If you don't re-sign them, then they are gone into free agency, and then you've got to basically bid for everyone. Now, I think Matt Ioannidis, having him back at the defensive tackle spot, is going to be critical. I think he deserves a pay grade. Other than that, if we go through this, Sam Darnold, you're out. I don't know if there's anyone else that we really try to sign. Maybe Jadeveon Clowney, maybe, but I'm not exactly sure. Maybe we'll try, but 3 years for $31 million. He's already at a 30. I think he's going to regress, but I do think that having maybe Matthew Ioannidis for another 2 years would not be too bad. So we're going to go ahead and try to re-sign him, see if he's willing to, and we can't because we're negative 14.5 million in cap. What? So these mock drafts tend to be a lot more realistic. You see Bryce Young going to Detroit. Most of these are going to make sense, right? CJ Stroud going to the Texans. No one's trying to double up on a quarterback if they've already got one. Now they've got us going with Noah Sewell, Penei Sewell's brother out of Oregon. If he is there, I think we take him at middle linebacker. That would be a very huge pickup. Maybe get a defensive end as well, but we got Yatir Gross-Matos. I'm not entirely sure. So it looks like we're going to have to fill all of our needs through the draft because we've got no money. All right, let's start the NFL draft. We're in a terrible cap situation. The Panthers are. I didn't realize they were in this bad of a shape. We need a center. We need a middle linebacker. We need some guards. We need backup, everything pretty much, but we need to go out. Hopefully we can get Sewell and then maybe come back in the second round and get a good lineman or maybe edge rusher. Let's see what happens. All right, so I'm not going to lie. I think this was probably the worst draft I've ever done. I haven't seen the overall ratings yet, So let's look at them. And okay, I'm actually not that upset with that. So we got Sewell, who's a 76 overall. We get a center in Jared Patterson. I did get Spencer Rattler out of South Carolina, a 68 overall, because who knows? If Matt Corral doesn't work out, a 4th round pick on Spencer Rattler, I think, is a steal. Then we go out and get a fullback at 71 overall. He's actually got a hidden development trait. And then we double down on outside linebacker help because we need it. So I'm happy with that draft, actually. It's like whenever you take a test and you think you did really, really bad, but then you end up having like scoring like a 90 something. That's what I've just felt like happened. What's going on, guys? Future Floopy here. Another thing that I forgot to mention is progression in this mod is completely different. It'll happen retroactively at the end of every year. So after we draft players, there is a progression tool that will go through and randomize the players' growth depending on their stats and just other random things. So rookies could jump up 10 overall, or they cannot grow at all. A great player that performed the previous season, who you think is going to grow, might not grow at all. Really randomizes things, keeps things interesting, and you'll see in this video some pretty cool stuff will happen. All right, so after the offseason, things kind of heated up in the quarterback room. That is right. OTAs came and players progressed, and one of the things that you're going to notice is that Spencer Rattler actually is now a little better than Matt Corral. He's at a 69 overall. So he actually progressed 0.1 or +1 during the offseason. Equanu actually increased quite a lot. And our new rookie, Patterson, the center, jumped up +9 overall. So he is doing really, really well. Another big guy that jumped up is CJ Henderson. He's now an 80 overall. This is a contract year for him, so of course he's going to jump up and force us to do something in free agency to try to sign him. Unfortunately enough for us, our defensive line didn't grow that well. I mean, Brian Burns went up, Derek Brown did grow, but Yatir Gross-Matos didn't grow at all. We do have Davian Nixon here at 69, but we can't really do a whole lot. Sewell did go up +1, so the team is pretty good. I think our linebacking core is a lot better. Luvu is fast and athletic, but he's more of an edge rusher. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to start him because we really just don't have anyone else. But I do feel like the team is a little better. But we're only going to play. I am going to give Matt Corral the benefit of the doubt. We're going to finish this season off with him. And if he does not progress, then Spencer Rattler will be the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. So I had to release Robbie Anderson to make some room because we are in cap hell, to say the least. If we trade Shaq Thompson and Ian Thomas, this will clear a little bit of room for us. And maybe we can get some picks from the Bears. I don't know if we can get a first-round pick for both of these guys. I want to see. Yeah, they're not going to give us that. We're probably going to have to go, maybe, can we get a 3rd and a 4th? I really don't think that that's going to work either. Yeah, we're going to have to give, maybe if we just back off of the 4th round draft pick, they'll accept the offer. So we got rid of Shaq Thompson and Ian Thomas so that we can have some cap space, because now we have $3.16 million in cap space. But we still have so many, we have so many positions to fill that I had to make a sheet so that I could remember. So after some absolute magician work, here we are. This is going to be the starting lineup for the 2023 Carolina Panthers. Matt Corral, remember, is starting quarterback. We're going to see how he does. If he doesn't do good, then we're moving on to Spencer Rattler. We got DJ Moore, John Ross, we got out in free agency, and Terrence Marshall. We got rid of Robbie Anderson. Tommy Trimble, we picked up Hayden Hurst. And then offensive line, Equanu, Pat Elflein instead of Brady Christensen. We're going to try to give Matt Corral the quote-unquote better players around him the best we can after getting rid of Robbie Anderson, Austin Corbett, and then Tyler Moton. So we're still good on the offensive line. On defense, we're still pretty much the same. The only thing that changed, CJ Henderson is now playing CB2. We're going to put JC Horn at slot since JC Horn did not progress and CJ Henderson does. CJ Henderson does have a contract coming up, so we got to make sure we can secure him in the offseason. Jeremy Chin. Our linebacking core is basically back to where it was the first season. These are all rookies except for Smith. Smith was a rookie last year. Sewell and Funa out of Oregon. It's probably going to be rough again. We've got Brian Burns, Gross-Matos, The defense is kind of shaky. The team's got a little bit of holes. We were in a terrible cap situation. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if that was the mod or something. It definitely made it interesting. But let's see if we can get into the playoffs. Well, what do you know? The Panthers finished the same 7-10. Man, that's 2 years in a row we ain't made the playoffs. So let's look at what happened. And it's probably the quarterback position if we're being serious. Not Matt Corral, 29 for 18 and 4,200 yards. That's actually pretty good. Christian McCaffrey, 1,100 yards rushing, 9 touchdowns. Okay, that's not bad. DJ Moore had 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. Terrence Marshall did okay. John Ross was all right. It had to be our defense. Yeah, we didn't have anyone with 100 solo tackles. Gross Matos and Brian Burns both had over 13 sacks. That's pretty good. We did pick up D Ford, so he did a rotational job. He got 8.5. That's really good. Derek Brown with 4.5. I'm really not sure what happened. We missed the kicks or something. Hold on, we gotta check this out. So we were 15th in offensive yards, but there had to be something up. We're 7-10, and I'm not exactly sure what happened. Defense. So we were just borderline. We were 16th. We're 7th in points scored. Does Matt Corral deserve another year? I mean, he was 7th in the NFL in touchdowns. I think he did good. I'm really just kind of trying to process it all and figure out exactly what happened here. Let's just look at it from this perspective. He wasn't top 10, but he was like 11 or 12. Again, he was 7th in touchdowns, but interceptions, he threw 18. So he was also like top 8 in interceptions. That's not too good. And he only completed 60% of his passes. It's really hard to say. I think we kind of give him another shot. We'll just see how he progresses in the offseason. We'll also see what other holes we've got in the team. I mean, if we don't have any like wide receivers or anything to help him out, maybe he needs a little bit more help. Maybe that's what we do. And then we go on to Spencer Rattler. We'll just have to see if they progress. It's really tough. We're 7-10. We put up some good stats, but we just weren't good enough to win games. Mediocrity at its best. That's the Carolina Panthers for you. All right, so Super Bowl 58 is the Commanders against the Titans. Malik Willis, maybe, possibly. Oh, wow. An absolute defensive struggle, and the Titans pull it off. So we need to go into free agency and re-sign our players. Of course, CJ Henderson needs to be re-signed. Now, we didn't look at how good CJ Henderson did as far as interceptions goes and maybe tackles. Really hard to determine, but we'll just have to look and see what all he did. He had 3 interceptions. It's actually not too bad. Tackles, he had 77. I mean, he technically was better than Dante Jackson. JC Horn also had 2 interceptions. So I think we try to sign him if we can. I just don't know if we're going to be able to afford to sign him because of, again, for some reason, the cap space is terrible. Now we see we got $76.2 million. Of course, we are going to withdraw our offer there, but Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin, CJ Henderson, Yatir Gross-Matos, who produced for us. I think we have to re-sign him, but I think that's pretty much it. I think everybody else we can live without. But man, those are, and with this mod that we only get one chance to sign them. This is huge. If Brian Burns is gone, man, that would hurt. So I think what we do is we try to oversell here. Oh, thank God he accepted. Jeremy Chin, I think, is another big component to the Panthers defense. Yes, we got him. All right. I didn't want to undershoot and not get it. It really makes you oversell for these guys. And last but not least is CJ Henderson. He will be 29 at the end of this deal, and then we can get rid of him. Hopefully we win a Super Bowl by then. I think for what he's asking per year is actually really good. So we're going to sign that. All right, we've got him. We're good. I think everyone else we let go except for Yatir Gross-Matos. I do want to sign him to a 2-year deal and lock him up. We'll give him a $3 million deal. I think he deserved it, and he accepted. All right, good. That was actually a lot easier than I thought. All right, guys. So we got AJ Brown, we got Chris Boswell, and we got Gallimore, defensive tackle. That's actually pretty good. That fills some needs for us. I don't think we have any other available space. We only have 7.5 million, and I want to leave that to fill in for depth players. Man, would I love to have Nick Bosa. So this is the Todd McShay mock draft here, and let's see who they got us taking. Quarterback Jackson Dart. Because our overall quarterbacks were very, very low, they have us taking that. I think it would be nice to get another offensive lineman or another edge rusher possibly to help out and put Yatir Gross-Matos back into that rotational rushing situation and probably to get an offensive. Man, I really wanted an offensive lineman. It don't look like there's any here for us. So here we are in the draft. We're picking 9th. I think I'm going to take Micah Maskua out of Baylor, move him to left guard. And hey, if he's better than Ekwonu, then we might move him because Ekwonu actually did play guard. I think that's what we do. Ekwanu's versatile. I think we move him to guard and move Micah over. And then I am going to hope, I highly doubt he's still going to be here, but Drew Sanders will be here in the 2nd round as a run stopper. He's a fit. He's a 1st to 2nd round projection, so he might be there. He might not. I'm hoping that he's not going to be a bust. But we're going to see. If not, he's going to be at least a good guard for us. He does have a hidden development trait. You know how I told you earlier about the whole test thing, like when you're in school? This time I think I did like phenomenal. I don't know. I've done that before and just absolutely flunked the test. So let's see what we got. Yeah, it's actually worse than what we had before. Now, Micah is a 72, so that's pretty good. Jared Verse is a 70, but everyone else is not that great. I really wish on one of those 3rd round picks we would have hit, but I will say that both our 1st, 2nd, and our 3rd, our outside linebacker, all have hidden development traits. So 3 of our first 4 picks had hidden development traits. All right, guys, so year 3 is underway. We're an 80 overall on offense, defense, and of course, overall, we're 80. Let's meet the team. I think this is the best team we've put together so far as completion goes. We've got a lot of good young players that I like and I think can grow. Of course, Matt Corral still starting. We still have Christian McCaffrey. AJ Brown and DJ Moore are playing wide receiver. I'm going to put DJ Moore in the slot so that he can thrive there, especially with AJ Brown and Terrence Marshall, 2 big receivers on the outside. I think that'll work. I did move Ekwonu inside, which will bump him up all the way to an 86. The offensive line is looking really, really good. I'm hoping Mazuka, I don't really know how to say his name, grows with this offense. We're probably gonna have to get Corbett or a right guard at some point. Tommy Trimble still holding it down at the tight end. I might go out and get a tight end. I'm not entirely sure. We do have Henry here playing backup tight end that we drafted. On defense, things, of course, are looking better. We still have Xavier Woods, Jeremy Chin. Oh, another thing, on the progression report, Brian Burns increased, you see. CJ Henderson increased and Jeremy Chin increased. So this defense is definitely better. Then we put Neville Gallimore in there. Derek Brown increased in there in the offseason. Gross Matos stayed the same, of course. Dante Jackson stayed the same. But overall, our defense is definitely better. JC Horn's going to play our slot. I already told you about DJ Moore. Chuba Hubbard also increased a lot in the offseason as well. So now he will be our power back. Hopefully that'll take some of the load off of Christian McCaffrey, who you see is now an 88. When we rush the quarterback, Brian Burns, Derek Brown, Gross Matos will be coming after him. And of course, Sewell is our sub linebacker. So let's see, 2 7-10 records or seasons. Can we break through and make the playoffs? Let's find out. And what do you know? The Carolina Panthers are 13-4. That should have gotten us the #1 seed in the playoffs. Let's view the playoff bracket. I cannot believe, yeah, we've got the #1 seed. Now let's look at the stats. Something happened here, right? Something that had to happen in order for us to get here. So let's see if it was Matt Corral. And no, not really. 29 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Really, Matt Corral has really not been bad. You probably can make the case that he's just been mediocre. Again, he hasn't eclipsed 30 touchdowns yet. He did decrease his interceptions. He had a better completion percentage and threw for about the same amount of yards, but that was with better help. So we got to keep that in mind. If we go to rushing, Christian McCaffrey had a great year, his best year since we've been doing this. Maybe that's what was going on. We had 2 receivers with 1,000 yards, AJ Brown and DJ Moore. AJ Brown had 10 touchdowns. So great acquisition for the Panthers there. Sewell led the league, or led the team in tackling. Brian Burns now has 15 sacks. Brian Burns is starting to do some crazy things here since, like, what, Julius Peppers, Greg Hardy, we really don't want to mention his name, but last 3 years, 13, 15, and 15. That's phenomenal, to say the least. Unfortunately, though, Gross Matos did not repeat what he did last year, but what more could you expect out of him? He's only a 73 overall. There's my dog. Neville Gallimore did have 6 sacks, so that was really good that we brought him on. And Derek Brown has just, I don't know, has not been doing too well. Now, J.C. Horn stepped it up. I think he has a contract year coming up, so it's kind of weird that he's doing that. Dante Jackson had 5 interceptions. So did J.C. Horn. C.J. Henderson only had 1. So it looked like we turned the ball over quite a lot. Now, C.J. Henderson did have 10 pass deflections. Did we have any forced fumbles? Yeah, Neville Gallimore. So he was actually really good. So we had some surprise players. 8th in the NFL in offensive yards. So we had a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense. Who are we going to face in the playoffs? Also, Sewell was hurt. I just saw that. So we get our middle linebacker in time for the playoffs. That's huge. We're going up against the Minnesota Vikings. Yatir Gross-Matos is coming back and Neville Gallimore. So we had 3 starters on defense hurt for the remainder of the season. We get them back. That's something to keep in mind. Let's see if we get the win. We'll be sick if we are 1 and done, the Panthers. And we win. We're going up against Nick Bosa and Kayvon Thibodeau with the New York Giants. Now, if we look at the overall ranks, offensive points per game, Carolina was 3rd in the NFL in points per game. So that's actually really, really good. Let's see who else. Tyler Moden's returning from injury. We had a lot of players hurt and we were still 13-4. All right, this is the NFC conference game. If the Panthers win, they're going to the Super Bowl. Let's see what happens. And they win 44-13, destroying the Giants. That is amazing. So here we go, Super Bowl run. Can the Panthers beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl? That is going to be a tough task against Patrick Mahomes. The 2 number 1 seeds in the NFL going at it here in the Super Bowl today. But before we do that, let's look at the league leaders for the awards. So Christian McCaffrey finishes 2nd in the NFL in the MVP. So really, I guess Christian McCaffrey he turned back the clock a little bit and had a really great season, and that helped out Matt Corral. Yeah, he was offensive player of the year. I mean, I think that just says it enough. Defensive player of the year, Brian Burns finished 6th. Offensive rookie, we didn't have anybody. I can't believe that A.J. Brown only finished 5th in best wide receiver. But here we go. 12-5, 13-4. Who's coming out on top? Can the Carolina Panthers win their first ever Super Bowl? They're 0-2 in Super Bowl history. Losing to Tom Brady and Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl is pretty good company. But that's about as good as an excuse I can, because the Panthers have been mediocre for their entire tenure as an NFL franchise. Did they get their first win here today? And they do. They win 30-24 against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Carolina Panthers win a Super Bowl with Matt Corral. And I think that this rebuild is over. So here is the stats. Patrick Mahomes had a good day. He threw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, didn't have an interception. Matt Corral did throw 2 touchdowns. He had 1 interception. He didn't even eclipse 170 yards. Christian McCaffrey rushed for 152 yards with a touchdown. So Christian McCaffrey, a lot of people were doubting him. He came out and tried to prove that he is still an elite running back. CeeDee Lamb was somebody that we looked to try to get over A.J. Brown when A.J. Brown didn't really even show up. He did get a touchdown, 22 yards, but DJ Moore had a better game. It's interesting. So let's look at the defense. Do we have any sacks? Did anybody was able to get Gallimore? Chris Jones had a sack. Jeremy Chin, no, he did not have a sack. Of course, we didn't have any interceptions. So that's it. The Carolina Panthers, 3 years from now, will win the Super Bowl with Matt Corral. You heard it here first against the Chiefs. Let me know down in the comments, do you think Matt Corral is a franchise quarterback? Can the Panthers get it done with him? I have a feeling that they're probably going to have to get rid of their coach if they want to get anything done. I'm not the big Matt Rule fan, but hey, he could prove me wrong. But here we go. Panthers get it done in 2024. Make sure to hit that like button, and I will catch everybody later.